Hey guys, how are you doing?
Pretty well. Good to be here.
Hey, Areos.
Hey Jesse, Torben, it's been a little while.
Indeed.
It's been an interesting couple of months, couple of quarters.
A year, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, welcome to everyone that is tuning in to us today for this special edition podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about digital commerce in this interesting past quarter and year. Specifically, we'll be talking about how we've scaled Elastic Path to accommodate for a highly anticipated device launch at one of a mutual client of ours. We'll also be talking about how digital commerce fits in the world today. More revenue is flowing through digital commerce systems than ever before. We'll be reflecting a little bit on how they've scaled and adapted to meet that challenge, where they might go in the future, et cetera. Some introductions. I'm Jesse Krautwurst. I'm the Vice President of Technology at Nortal. Nortal is a global business and technology consultancy. We have clients in both the private and public sector. In the US, we handle entirely clients in the private sector, clients that are in the Fortune 100, 50. So we're really adept at the challenges of large scale cost optimization. How do we scale up and down architecture to meet need? How do we provide maximum resiliency and performance for downstream systems and customers? Today, I'm also joined by Torben, who's a senior solutions architect at Elastic Path, which is a leading digital commerce platform, as well as my colleague Areos, Ledesma, who is Vice President of Client Services for some of our Fortune 100 customers. To kick it off, I will hand things over to Torben.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, I thought I'd maybe spend a minute to talk about Elastic Path for those who are not so familiar with us. Elastic Path provides the only commerce platform you could say that combines the control of a DIY solution with the simplicity of a hosted solution, but at enterprise scale. And we've been around for 20 years, and we have sort of built up our e-commerce expertise during that time. And we've been trusted to handle secure data or mission critical launches or high volume revenue generation for over 250 of the largest most innovative brands here. And something to know, Elastic Path is the commerce platform for headless commerce. And I know we're going to talk about that in a little while. And I say that in this way because in a way we created the headless commerce space with our API first hypermedia API approach. And as we'll see, we've been particularly successful in the telco space because we can handle unique requirements that you find there around configure, price, quote, or checkout, or all of those backend integrations that are needed. We handle those particularly well. So that's I suppose why we find ourselves here.
cool. Well, I think I can talk a little bit about the partnership because really Elastic Path and Nortal have been working together for quite some time across so many different clients, right? If I look back, I think it started about 7 years ago, and really it started in Europe, right? With our colleagues in Europe, I think primarily in Finland first, some of our customers over there, and then it just kind of kept propagating into different regions and different sectors or industries, right? So it's been really a great partnership over these 7 years, and covered everything from like travel and hospitality through telecom, through manufacturing and energy. So really, really cool, innovative solutions. I think we started working closely together though, in terms of, like my role and Elastic Path, just really in the last 5 years is really where it really accelerated here in the US. And, it's just been great. I think we worked very seamlessly together. And now that we understand the platform, we have a really great formula to bring digital commerce experiences, to these large companies, and I'm sure mid-sized companies as well. But really today we're going to talk about these large complex systems, these behemoths, right, in the industry. So we really enjoy the Elastic Path platform in terms of just the time to market. It's something that now that we are very experienced with the platform, we can bring that business value very quickly to our customers and really just kind of keep building and iterating on top of it. But when we're talking about these large Fortune 100 companies, really what they're looking for is reliable, scalable, performant, and secure digital transactions, and those are really critical for us to keep in mind along the way at every single sprint, every single build, every single release. Right now, more than ever, I would say that these large complex integrated systems, they really come under scrutiny because, like Jesse was saying, never there have been so much revenue basically relying entirely on these platforms, right? So I think that when we're talking about the future, and the present and the future, what we need to keep in mind is just that time to market always comes back. First, they list all these very, very demanding requirements about scalability, about performance, security, all these things. But then at the end of the day, you don't have 6 months to do a big bang release, and they're not going to be waiting that kind of time until they see some value. So really, that time to market is critical, and I think that the headless commerce provides that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just for Fortune 100 companies either. COVID has forced companies of all sizes, traditional brick and mortar stores, to face the choice of whether they should shift to digital commerce or lean into a business model that doesn't necessarily work. Luckily, modern architecture, modern applications were well positioned to support this great demand on reliability and scalability that came with the pandemic last year. In the last 10 years, cloud infrastructure has become viable for almost all use cases, and application architecture has changed to take advantage of that. So we've seen large applications be decomposed over time into smaller, discrete components that can be scaled up and down. Microservices is a very typical pattern of that. Whereas companies were largely treating that as a cost savings. Well, let's only scale up what we need at the time. Now we found that level of horizontal scaling has been really critical in having these systems support the sudden influx of customer traffic. Performance is another key thing about digital commerce that we've been very used to tuning. You can be very scientific about your performance on commerce platforms. There's a very large indirect correlation between conversion, the folks that make it to the end of the funnel and buy something, with the performance of the application that got them there. We've done many things like A/B testing. You can just be very scientific about every few milliseconds of application performance costs this much money. So those are all important factors. The flexibility too is very important in terms of, I think we've all spun up, or if you've ever evaluated a digital commerce platform, you've probably looked at the out of the box configuration. It's usually, selling t-shirts in these 3 sizes and these 3 colors, but nobody's business is actually like that. There's a need to implement custom business rules, pricing, discounts, volume discounts, all that sort of stuff that, Elastic Path and other platforms have been really key to making business function in the pandemic.
Glad to hear that. Yeah. Yeah, this it's been an interesting year, right? This sudden need to look at your go-to-market strategies, to transition from B2C to B2B and diversify and enable new sales channels. All of this has been a tricky challenge for many. But yeah, we found that those who've sort of embraced, in a way, the headless commerce architecture early, it's been easier for those because in a way, headless commerce allows you to adapt much more quickly, because the key thing is that as you're trying to go for different channels and bring sort of commerce to different devices, or just this decoupling of the customer facing front end, or the glass, as we like to call it, having that decoupled from the commerce capabilities and the business logic, whether that's the shopping cart or the catalog, or the promotions, payments, and so on. All of those capabilities, they are still around, but because they're separated, developers can easily then use these, for example, these APIs to then deliver these customer experiences to any screen or any connected device. And it's this separation that really allows then the two, whether it's the front end or the devices where you want to commerce enable them, and the business logic that sort of powers it underneath, it allows both of them to sort of grow and change independently of one another and at their own pace. And this is then really what sort of allows businesses to respond to the challenge and create those new experiences without necessarily risking the ones that you already have, right? So
Yeah, that's a, I want to segue a little bit of that because Torben, like as you said, there's just so much change happening so fast that these businesses need in order to conform to these like deeply impactful events. But we can't neglect the fact that, hey, there's already a lot of demand on this platform. There's already a lot of dollars and a lot of revenue streams coming through. So every time you're enhancing, you're changing, etc., it's not like that becomes the single focus of the job, right? It's still, that's on top of everything else that you're already doing properly, and you can't mess up what you already built properly, right? And I think that's really kind of, when we look at a program of this size, we'll use this as an example, but one of our Fortune 100 companies, customers, really a US carrier of wireless services and technology, one of the behemoths, right? Basically, their demand on the system is incredible. So as we're enhancing to respond to COVID necessities, or just enhancing functionality in order to, like you said, to enable different channels, on top of that, every year we have these like highly anticipated high volume device launches, right? And these are like the biggest in the world. And I think this is going to be, this last one was our third successful launch with the platform. And as they say, I think once you're at a certain executive level, no news is good news, right? Basically, what we're really looking for is like, hey, do we, after spending so much time, energy, and focus to build out this platform, do we have the best solution out there, right? And I think the Elastic Path, combined with the professional services that we offer, proved to be really the best third-party off-the-shelf solution out there for these times. Because, like I said, on top of the already changing logic and functionality that was really happening this past year, we still had to maintain an operational working model for them that was already growing. And then on top of that, we had this device launch that comes a couple times a year, right? And it's absolutely critical that we sustain. So
yeah, it's a great combination to have, in a way, very flexible platform, but then also very skilled services around it that really, a way allow big companies with those big needs, gives them this flexibility that you can usually you only see in smaller companies, right? More nimble companies. So this is a real good combination. Yeah, I've been thinking about wireless providers in the past, how in a way why Elastic Path in a way with this headless architecture has made such a difference for, for example, some of our, big customers that we can't name, but yeah, it's been, and there's been this history around this where if you think about how many of the telcos started, where back in the day, you had a few major sales channels, right? They were usually all assisted. You had your retail store maybe, and back in the day, then milliseconds in this case were not really that important. Like you could have a direct integration with your backend, and that was absolutely okay. For example, your POS system, not a problem. But over time, when those new sales channels entered the picture, such as self-serve apps or unassisted ordering from the web, and then this thinking like, hey, let's just integrate those new channels in the same way with the same backends, in the same way. That's I think where some of the problems start, because now you have multiple integrations that you need to maintain, but the responsiveness and the flexibility that is expected from today's customers coming in through those new channels, you just can't meet it in that same way. And it's clear why, because those backend systems, they tend to be rigid, but also robust, somewhat hard to change. But that's also okay, because that's what they were made for, right? That's the back office software that kind of runs the business, where scalability and responsiveness are less of a concern. But many wireless providers would, for example, have pricing and promotions then because of that, defined in those backend systems. And sometimes even the shopping cart would rely on the backend. And what happens is that even though you don't intend that, but through this, you kind of end up in a situation where the limitations and the rigidity of the backend, it bleeds into the upper layers of your architecture, and then it kind of hinders you in that sense, and in what you can do, and how your turnaround time looks like, right? So yeah, so wireless carriers, in a way, they had to look for a way to get out of that and to get to this flexibility and this scalability. And yeah, they found that architectures that allow layering, in this case headless commerce, between the touch points and those backend systems, that was the way to go. If you think about Gartner's pace layering model, a commerce platform is the system of innovation, right? Once you have this headless API driven commerce layer in place, you can drop offers quickly, you can open up channels quickly, and this is exactly where Elastic Path comes in, right? It's made to scale, it's made to be configurable and extensible, while at the same time really staying maintainable. And I think this is where you get the edge, right? The flexibility to address customers in different markets with pricing, promotions, and personalized offer structures. Even it's flexibility in those areas that is crucial to succeed in today's competitive landscape.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, if you keep, the business focus on those aspects that are a little bit like non-technical, right? But really you're focusing on the business and a competitive edge, like you said, you have the commerce platform that will enable you to do those things more easily, right? The focus then for the more of the technical resources, in this case, Nortel, right? We maintain a lot more focus on reliability engineering, test automation, auto scaling. And really when you have the combination between the customer focusing on the things that they need to focus because they rely on the platform, and you have the system integrator, and then Elastic Path providing that technology. It's a great combination. It really allows the customer to stay focused on their business, not so much on on the technology.
Yeah, and another great thing about Elastic Path is that it does leverage native technologies quite a bit. So container management, auto scaling, this is all stuff that's practiced in our customers already, and Elastic Path fits nicely into those patterns. But I did want to talk a little bit about the importance of a system integrator as well. In this case, like Areos said, Nortel. Rarely do digital commerce platforms, EP included, come out of the box ready to suit your needs, unless, like I said, you're a t-shirt shop. Then maybe you can just install it and walk off. But the ability to integrate with some of those downstream systems, like Torben was saying, they do have a tendency to bleed up in the architecture. So having an integrator that can come in and identify those bottlenecks with maybe some legacy fulfillment systems or payment processing systems or whatever, identifying things like which of these systems need to operate in real time versus which could maybe handle asynchronous type workflows. Just someone coming in there and evaluating all of those and coming up with an architecture to support is really key, especially when you have these large scale niche needs. Maybe your business model is completely unique. Integrations also need to be unique. So having a systems integrator like Nortal keeps your development processes intact. So you don't need to compromise the development on customer facing features or your core products in lieu of implementing your digital commerce platform. So having a solution integrator allows you to not expand your IT department. It allows you to implement these systems undisrupted quickly. A lot of this knowledge is a one-off. You don't need to know the inner workings of EP just to use it. So leveraging someone like Nortel to come in, do that integration, and then hand it off to you is absolutely key in rolling these out.
Yeah, and I think, Jesse, that customers really come to value that once you have multiple launches that are successful, right? And they say, like I mentioned earlier, it's not only that no news is good news in the IT floor, but if every time I talk to CDOs and CIOs these days, there's one metric that they care about their commerce platform. It's basically zero downtime, right? And it's a binary success, right? It's a binary success metric. Either you achieved or you didn't, right? And in our cases, we've had 3 successful launches. We hope to have a lot more, right? I think that we've felt very comfortable with the performance and the reliability of the platform, and it's just really a matter of keep building on it until it makes sense.
A key takeaway I hope you have is that Elastic Path is a flexible and versatile commerce platform that specifically excels at connectivity to the front ends and all the back ends with its front end facing APIs and our integration framework. And it's with this headless architecture, that's how we can achieve this, this adaptability that is just ideal for telcos. And while at the same time, still optimized to handle those high volume orders effortlessly. So I think that's where we kind of fit the sweet spot, I guess you could say.
Yeah, taking away the mystique of the headless commerce, right?
Yes.
Sounds good. Well, it was good to see you guys.
Indeed, yeah.
Otherwise, always.
Let's do this again.
All right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, take care, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.